RELAX. Relax.
This is Tom Grossi, and you're watching the PackReacts podcast.
Let's go.
PackReacts, baby. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jeremy Hadler. Tonight, Mike and John are out here. They are busy with their schedules. So tonight, I'll be leading the crew and holding the fort down for them. And tonight, we'll be talking about the Packers pulling off the upset against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football when many of us did not think it was going to happen, including us Packer fans. NBC football, they got it all wrong. The Packers are currently on a 3-game winning streak, so we'll be talking about that a bit. Also, be talking about Brian Gutekunst of the job that he pulled off with Aaron Rodgers, kind of look back on that trade there, and looking at a bit of this Packers playoff chances here again, and look at the Packers schedule once again here too, folks. So breaking all down tonight, we'll be doing that, and I'll be leading the fort once again, folks. So I'll be doing that. Now, let's recap here. Packers going into this big game here against the defending Super Bowl champions. The Chiefs were 6-point favorites. You had Taylor Swift at the game. You had Simone Biles. You had the Tony, I forget his last name. That was Mr. Monk that plays Monk, folks. That was that guy he was at the game there, folks. And yeah, so it was a big celebrity game. It was all crazy too. Jordan Love's mom actually got decent seats. So thank you, Packers, unlike the Chiefs there. But the Packers did pull off the upset with a game with a win. They pull off the upset, folks. 27-19, ladies and gentlemen. Man, was it crazy. It was going back and forth. But what stood out to me in that game was the Packers defense and Jordan Love. Those were the two things. I mean, there were other things, but I'll get more details about defense. But Jordan Love has looked spectacular the last couple weeks. He is tied in the NFL with Brock Purdy of most TDs with no interceptions of 3 touchdowns per game and 0 interceptions. He's tied. He has 4 right now, ladies and gentlemen, tied with Brock Purdy for the lead in the NFL. And during this 3-game winning streak with Jordan Love, now not many people thought the Packers were going to win against the Chargers. I mean, it's a bit, but the secondary was terrible. Lions, well, it's because of the division round. Kansas City Chiefs, well, we pulled off against the defending champs. And Jordan Love, over these past couple wins here, he has looked more poised, more confident, I will say. He is looking a lot more confident than making those crazy throws that I saw in that game. And I've worked to seeing, like, Jordan would not make those throws back in week 1. He couldn't make those. The confidence is what has been built up, and that's why I like to see him, because throughout this time, he has needed confidence. And that is what really stuck out to me, is the confidence there, folks. But Jordan Love, let me give you some statistics from the game, folks, of Jordan Love's game. 25 for 36 passes. He completed 25 passes out of 36, 267 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So 0 turnovers, folks. 2 sacks, had a QBR of 90.3, had a passer rating of 118.6, ladies and gentlemen. So very good from Jordan Love once again. I really like this. That's what I'm loving to see out of him. He's just growing more confident with his offense, getting better each week, and that's what I like to see. Is what I've said all year is he needs to progress. The more we get to see, this is evaluation year once again for us, ladies and gentlemen, for Packer fans. And he keeps progressing. He keeps trending upward. It's not like up, down, up, down. Now, he was kind of on that curve for a little bit, but he's pulled it off the last 3, and he's staying steady so far, folks. He's staying steady so far, not making any turnovers, which I like. Unlike Patrick Mahomes, he turned over the ball, threw an interception, which that was really the only mistake by the Chiefs. I mean, they couldn't make the touchdowns. They had to convert field goals, which the Packers defense did a great job of, which I'll get to in a bit. Threw an interception to Keyshawn Nixon late in the game, too. Took 3 sacks. So Patrick Mahomes, he wasn't terrible, but it's just like you make that crucial mistake, it could cost you the game. Cost you the game, folks. But this defense for the Packers, it was very nerve-wracking watching this because, I didn't think Joe Barry would have a good defensive plan against Patrick Mahomes, given Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, they did play each other 2 years ago because of Rodgers' COVID thing, but I just didn't think Joe Barry would pull it off this time, especially. But you get 3 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. Keyshawn Nixon gets that key interception, and the Packers kept making key stops, forced him to punt the ball. They did not let him get to the end zone much more. Now, there was like ugly moments in the game when you're watching the Packer defense of giving up that 3rd and long to Travis Kelce when that was your number 1 guy to target. That was a big concerning for me. Another one was like just letting Mahomes have all day in the pocket a bit too, because that kind of annoying because he could just extend plays and make all that. It's just like a bit of annoyance there, but that's what you're going to get when you have to face the best quarterback in the league, folks. That's what you're going to have to face. But I will give credit to Joe Barry. I will give credit to him. So I'll be happy with him there. And they just got it done. They kept converting this offense. Like one of the key things I really liked was they were aggressive. 4th and 1. That throw to Jane Reed, I would say that's a lucky throw because he threw that up like a Hail Mary a bit, and he could just ran in for the 1 yard. He could have ran in, but it worked out. There was like some throws that Jordan Love, like that one, that was like, I don't know if he could make that again. That was some lucky ones, but majority of the throws were very good. So I will give props to that. So it was a revenge game, and it was a dedicated win for his mom, as I mentioned before, about her sitting in like the bleacher seats at Arrowhead Stadium. Also, Taylor Swift's first loss at a Chiefs game, and Andy Reid will remember Jordan Love, his name now, because there's a video a couple years back which a couple people knew, but I think a lot of people knew of the Jordan Love of like knowing his name and everything. And Andy Reid had no idea who he was, so now you remember his name now, as I like to say. And I like to also mention this, as I mentioned it before, NBC, thank you for counting us out. Appreciate it, because it's happened with Fox, they count us out with Lions. NBC count us out against the Chiefs. And now you see what happened there. Let's go. Let's go right there. So we'll take that. But the offense really is getting better. A.J. Dillon, you're seeing a lot more rushing yards out of him. Now with A.J. Dillon, Quadfather, excuse me, he gets better late in the season, and that's what he was drafted for. When it gets to wintertime in Lambeau Field in the frozen tundra, he gets better. He progresses and gets much better. And we'll be seeing that of him get progress, and he needs to get more healthier. We need to keep seeing that for him to get more healthier, folks. And so we need to see that more out of him, and just need to keep going because this team, they have good momentum. Do not waste it. They have a hot hand right now. You got to keep using. You cannot, and we'll be getting to this a bit here against the upcoming teams. You cannot take these teams upcoming softs, even if they're terrible teams. You got to keep going, move forward, keep progressing, because that's what we keep seeing out of it. We need to see more out of that, and I really think the Packers did a great job on the offensive line. They gave up 2 sacks, but I think that's a great job when you're holding up the line against the Chiefs defense when they're a top 5 defense in the league, especially Chris Jones, trying to hold the majority of the time. So I will give props to that. They did well in the run game. Jordan Love, as I mentioned again, had a fantastic game. I would give him an A-. I'm not going to give it A+, but he did pretty darn good. So I will give him props for that. And yeah, give him props for that. He took apart that secondary, which that secondary is known to be one of the best in the league. That's fantastic to see that. Again, more progressive stuff I like to see out of him, and we'll get better. So I really like seeing that. Special teams. They did a great job. I will give props to Anders Carlson, which when he was making those long field goals, I had no faith he was going to get that. And he got that done. The 48-yard field goal at the end of the game, fantastic to see that. Just fantastic to see that. And one of my favorite plays watching that game was Christian Watson. He had a terrific day, just like the other receivers, which they are a key game bearer. I love this receiver group. They're underrated, folks. Like, because they're all rookies, they're like their entire money. I mean, if you want to include the second years like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, if you combine all those salaries, that is cheaper than the Packers' number 1 receiver last year, Allen Lazard, who is now a New York Jet. That's kind of crazy to see it when he got paid big with the New York Jets and he has not played much with the Jets. So that's kind of crazy to see that. But yeah, the wide receivers are getting better. Watson's like he mossed the guy in the end zone. That was awesome to see that. So just awesome to see that. a couple things that I just didn't like with with offense particularly was kind of towards the end of like we're heading towards the halftime, like getting towards the end of the second quarter. They have a shot to get an extra 3 points to put on the board. Patrick Taylor kept in bounds when I thought he should have went out of bounds. He would have saved more time and got all of that. They kept saying inbounds. They were trying to be more like not confident wise, but like more safe, try to play it safe out and just like try to run the clock out and just do everything. I was like, you gotta take a shot. You like they were being conservative. Yeah, that's the word. Conservative folks. And you can't have Patrick Taylor do that because you gotta do better than that. You absolutely have him get out of the end, get out of bounds because you gotta save the clock right there and there. So yeah, I think that they should have definitely performed a lot better the execution wise and had better play calls towards the end. That's one thing. I do think that like these players need to do a bit better of the sliding. Now obviously Watson, he hurt his hamstring again, the same one, like before he went down than when he was kneeling, so he didn't want to hurt it more. Yeah, that hurt us a little bit there. Yeah, that hurts a little bit, but like the other guys, like Love, some of the other receivers, like they need to learn how to slide better because when they're sliding, it did not look good. It's like they could be hurt. They're gonna get like hit hard again. So that was crucial there to see that. I was like, they gotta do a bit better job of that. But I really loved again this aggressiveness from Matt LaFleur of how it's changed of like you're letting the wheels come off Jordan Love and you're being aggressive and you let him have the keys to the car and let him have it because he's balling out right now. Just let him have it. And it's done a fantastic job for the Packers. It really has. So really has. Yeah. Just think that, yeah, Packers digital. I just think that the playbook should have been a little bit better. I just think it would have been. But once again, I think it was a great dub by this Packers team. Great dub to see that. And we did this. Let me remind you guys this. One without Jair, Aaron Jones, and Luke Musgrave. That's 3 of our starters. And this team is going on injury report once again. Injury report of like so many guys. It's like a Christmas list since we're getting to Christmas season. It's like, how many more people do I have? I got too many guys on the injury report. Too many. And another shout out to Joe Barry for holding the Chiefs under 20 points. That's the first time the Chiefs offense has been under 20 points this season. So I'm giving congrats to Joe Barry. I think his job might be saved, even though I don't like Joe Barry that much because he'll have Preston Smith on the #1 receiver. Yeah, it's not fun, guys. It's not fun when you put Preston Smith, but he wasn't on any like great receiver this game. So can we not have that, Joe Barry? Please. Like, just have that. And I do think like the secondary too, they're getting strong there of like without these backups, because let's face it, when we trade Rasul Douglas, that's one of my brother's favorite players. None of us thought that the Packers were going to keep continuing and staying put. None of us did. And they still fought through it and stay put it. Like, none of us thought these guys were. They were undrafted guys and just somehow doing great with this. And it's just amazing to see how this team's doing better. And here's another interesting fact, too, for the Packers defense. Packers have not allowed more than 24 points in a game in 8 straight games, folks. These past 8 straight games. And that's the longest streak since 2010. We won the Super Bowl that year, folks, which was 9. The streak was 9, folks. But since 2010. So, yeah. Great game overall. This is a great game overall. Also like to mention another quick fact, folks, is Jordan Love. He is the first player since 1970 with 250 or more passing yards and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in back-to-back games. You would think that would have happened. Nope. It hasn't happened in a while bit, folks. Hasn't happened a bit. So great to see that. Just excellent when we needed this. So again, huge props to this team. I'm proud. I had no expectations we were going to win this, and we won. We won the game. So I will give congrats to that. So they pull out the win. They get the job done. Now you move on to Monday Night Football against the Giants. Now, before we get into that, I'd like to mention the injury report of the practice, because finally I've been waiting for the injury report for the whole week so far, folks. I've been waiting for that. So for this, I'll mention it for this game here, folks. You got Jair Alexander, limited participant today. He practiced. Question is, will he play? I don't know. I really hope he does, because it's kind of annoying the past couple weeks where he's practiced, and he doesn't play. It's really, I mean, I get that they're trying to get him 100%, but it's kind of annoying to like he's been practicing a lot, folks. It's a bit of an annoyance. So he was a limited participant today, dealing with a shoulder injury. Devondre Campbell, who did not have a great game with the Chiefs. I think it's just all because of his he's coming rough off injury and just getting his first game back. I think that's it. I think he'll be fine, folks. He's dealing with a neck injury. He was a limited participant today. Josiah DeGora was a full participant. He's dealing with a hip injury. AJ Dillon, a limited participant, dealing with a groin injury. Sean Gary, dealing with a shoulder injury, limited participant. Elton Jenkins, limited participant, dealing with a shoulder injury. Aaron Jones, he practiced, but not. He was limited, folks. He practiced like with the individuals. So there's some progress there, folks. Some progress, but it's not a lot. Jonathan Owens, dealing with a knee injury, limited participant. Jaden Reed, dealing with a chest injury, limited participant. Darnell Savage, Quay Walker, Christian Watson, all did not practice today. Savage is dealing with a chest injury. Walker's dealing with a shoulder injury. Watson's dealing with a hamstring, obviously, as I mentioned before. Now, Savage, he went out in the game and he came back in, so I figured it's kind of a rest day to see where he's at. But then again, you need to have Quay Walker out there. He's one of your leaders in that defense, making the play calls of calling out for the defenses and what scheme with Joe Barry, telling him what to do. So you badly need him back, I will say. Christian Watson, I don't think he's going to play this Monday if I had to be a betting person, which I'm not. But if I was a betting person, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think realistically, I could see him I think it's going to be 2 weeks for him. I think it's going to be less than what he had early this season when he was out, I think 3 games. So I think this week, I don't see it. I think it's safer for the Packers to not play him. I mean, we'll get to the game in a bit here, but I just think it's safer for the Packers not to play him. I just think that's the way. So I just think that's the way for them. But then heading to this upcoming game, which we play the Giants. We play the Giants, and I'll talk that in a bit here, folks. But I'll give you their injury report right now, folks. Evan Neal, the offensive tackle, dealing with an ankle injury, did not participate today. That's good for the Packers. Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, hamstring injury, limited participant. He's pretty good, folks, I will say, despite that Giants team. Sean Robinson, hamstring, defensive tackle. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, limited participant. Isaiah Simmons, the guy who got traded from Arizona, who was a 6th overall pick and got traded for a 5th, 6th round pick. So he's not that great. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He was a limited participant today. Tyrod Taylor, designated off the IR, who's dealing with a rib injury. He's a full participant today. So, and I will mention this with the Giants. They decided to start Tommy DeVito over Tyrod Taylor this week. They want to give it to Tommy DeVito because the Giants have had back-to-back wins and they're coming off a bye week. So might as well leave with a hot hand if I were the Giants. But yeah, just crazy to see that. Just crazy to see that bit there. So yeah, getting into this Giants game here. Packers take it on them on Monday Night Football, doubleheader that's happening that night, which the other game is the Miami Dolphins and the Tennessee Titans, excuse me. It's those two are so that's the other game, which I don't think anyone's going to watch it unless you're Dolphins or Titans fans. I mean, I don't think really Titan fans are going to watch that, but yeah. And I just think with the Packers, this is your revenge game. You saw it happen last year when you went to London. You blew it with Rodgers in London. You had the opportunity to win it. They struggled against Saquon Barkley in that second half last year. And that's going to be one of the key things when you're watching this game. You have to have blocking on that. You have to stop the run. That is going to be one of the key things in this game. You stopped Saquon Barkley. You limited what he can do. The Packers, I have a good shot at winning. That's one of the key things for this game. But the Giants, they're currently not great right now, folks. They have a terrible season, 4-8. Come like last year with the postseason. This is not the same year for them. Not the same year. With Daniel Jones not playing this at all this year, so you got to take care of business. Really have to take care of business here because you cannot treat these teams like easy opponents that you're just going to walk in, you get the easy dub. No, like Jordan Love said today on the Packers YouTube. You got to take care of business. You cannot treat them so light. You can't underestimate any of these upcoming teams, even if they're bad teams. You have to keep playing them. And with the Giants, they have to give respect to them, even though they might not be great. You have to take care of business. You got to take care of business. And as I mentioned before, limit Saquon Barkley. That's me key thing. Start out to an early lead. I think the Pack, like what they've been doing the last couple weeks, get the ball first and score. It's going to help the Packers out. So that's another thing. I also will say, to go with that offense, is Jordan Love does not turn over the ball. Does not turn over the ball. If he does not turn the ball, I think the Packers have a decent shot of winning the game here. I just think they do. And then, yeah, so I think they have a decent shot of winning the game. The interesting fact that I did find out is the Giants' offense, their offensive line, is the worst in pass protection, one of the worst in run blocking. They've given up so many sacks. Like, it's terrible. They've given up, I think, I forget what the number was, but it's very big. And I'm like, it could be a great day for the Packers defense to get a lot of sacks here, because the past couple of games from the Giants, every time they've been getting sack block. It's like having the Bengals offense, for example, folks. Bengals offense in the Super Bowl against the Rams, it could not do anything. If the Bengals had an offensive line, they probably would have won the Super Bowl. But when that happened, you saw Aaron Donald destroy that offensive line and just sack. Now, it's not just saying of like a great player like Aaron Donald, but it's almost like any player could just walk in, any defensive player could just walk in and just get an easy sack. Like the past couple of games for his Giants team, I mean, they won against the Patriots, which the Patriots are playing right now, and they're somehow beating the Steelers, but they beat the Patriots 10-7. That's not very convincing. That's not that convincing to me of like the off. So it shows me the offense, not that great. Commanders, 31-19. Now that's a divisional rival game. Again, I don't know if they'll put up that many points again. They lost the Cowboys 49-17, which I understand it's the Cowboys. Against the Raiders, they lost 30-6. Against the Jets, they lost 13-10. So this offense is not that great. It's not that great. Defensively, now they give up a bunch of points there. They give up a bunch of points. I mean, besides like the last game against the Patriots, they give up a lot of points, ladies and gentlemen. They do. So Packers, they just gotta keep being strong and just keep getting it going here. If they get it going, they're gonna get it done. They're gonna keep it getting going. They're gonna get the job done, folks. So that's be a big thing for this Packers team, is just to keep going, keep moving forward is what the key thing is. And if you are going to the Packers-Giants game, Mike and John will be there. So hit us up on the PackReacts Twitter if you were going. Just tweet to us or DM us on Twitter, and they might see you there. So if you want to go meet them, they'll be at the Packers-Giants game, folks. So shout out to them and shout out to the PackReacts Twitter, which make sure you follow if you've not already, and subscribe to this channel too, folks. Close to 300. Almost there, folks. So sub and leave a like on the stream if you have not already, and leave questions in the chat. I love the comments so far we've been seeing here. So make sure we do that as we get through this show here tonight. And now I wanted to share my computer. Nope, that's not the one. Let me share my screen here real quick to show you guys one quick thing if I can pull it up. Aha. So I'm going to take you to NY Times here, this Packers, if you guys can see me here. So right now, currently the Packers have a 69% chance. Very good number, folks. That's a pretty good number. Right now, if the Packers win, that's a 76% chance against the Giants. The 53 if they lose to the Giants. Now, I'm not going to count this. I don't count this statistic because I don't trust that, because that's misleading in my opinion, because it doesn't account the other games, which in statistics, which I took, you have to count for all variable costs. You have to count for all the variables, which that's a fact. And if you a good sports movie to watch on statistics is Moneyball. Great movie to watch, folks, if you haven't seen already. So let us ride to week 14, ladies and gentlemen. So week 14, this brings us to the rooting guide here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to get rid of some games right away that just don't matter to me. So I will say, I don't know who's winning right now. If someone wants to say it, I will say the Patriots, even though I think the Steelers are going to win the game. This game, I'll go Colts because why not? I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play, but it's highly unlikely, so I'll say that. I'll say that for later. That's a kind of important piece there I'll have there. Chiefs Bills. I'll give the Bills the win for once. Broncos Chargers. I don't trust Brandon Staley. I think we all know where that goes. All right, so that's okay. For some odd reason, that made us have a 3% increase, even though I didn't touch any of that. Okay, so we're gonna go through that. So increase our odds, guys, by 3%. All right, so these games are important to me right here. If you're a Packers fan right now, you want the Falcons to win because you want them to win the division. That's a key thing. You're also getting the Bucks out of the playoff picture. I mean, they're unlikely to make the playoffs, but you kind of want them out just in case if they somehow make a miracle run because the Packers do play them. So you want, in my eyes, if all doom comes to worst, the Packers go 2-3. You want the best insurance policy, ladies and gentlemen. The best insurance policy when you're making a postseason run. That's why I always say when you're trying to make a postseason run, you want to have the best insurance policy when you're doing it because it can help you out a lot. It can help you out a lot. Like the Packers in 2016 when they ran the table. Not only did they win all those games, but they had to get a lot of help too, folks. They had to get a lot of help. So they had to do that. But you need the Falcons to win here because A, takes the Bucks out of the playoff picture. I don't know why it's getting 69. Well, we start with that anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Second, the Falcons, if they helps if the Falcons win, as I mentioned before, Bucks get out of the playoff picture. Second, get some winning the division because Falcons did beat the Packers. So if it came down to the wild card and the Saints somehow win the division, if it came down to us and the Falcons, if we end with same record, they would get in before. They would get in instead of us. So prefer the Falcons to win the division here, ladies and gentlemen. Prefer to win. All right. Lions, Bears. Okay, I know a lot of Packer fans wanted the Lions to lose last week against the Saints, but the odd makers, and if you try and look at it, if you want to look on this side, you want to look on some other place, it is very unlikely the Packers win the division. If you want to rant about it, you can, guys, but I'm just going to say that right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's very unlikely for the Packers to win the division. Putting that out there. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just saying it's very unlikely. So preferably, we're going to get the wild card is what the odd makers and the NFL script, if it's out there, tell us. So, yeah. So I want the Bears to win for two reasons that I just mentioned the first one. Lions. Get rid of the So, yeah, I just don't see it happening with I just don't see us winning the division. But if you want I will pick the Bears for you if you want the rooting guide, even though it has a 2% increase wise. I'll pick that for you Packer fans out there that want the win the division, which I don't think is going to happen. But that's one reason there. Second reason I want the Bears to win is because it takes them out of their draft pick of where they're currently at, because currently they have a top 10 overall pick. I mean, they have the Panthers pick already, but they have their own pick, which if they win more games, it gets them out of the picture a bit. So helps the Packers out, I will say, draft capital wise. So they're not in the way. So I will say that. And I prefer the Bears to win. So prefer that. And that's a rare thing to say as a Packer fan. So there you go. If you want the Packers to win division, that's your first step, ladies and gentlemen. First step. Okay. Panthers Saints. So preferably I want the Panthers to win. And like I mentioned, this is kind of like the Lions game a little bit. Panthers win. Takes them out of the draft capital. Don't want them to get number one pick because it gives the Bears that pick. Second, the Packers beat the Saints. Already this year. That was Jordan's first career win in Lambeau Field, his first start at Lambeau Field. If you have the Saints lose, again, it gives you more comfort that the Saints are not making the postseason. Gives you more comfort level here or there, folks, because Packers, not only do they have a game over them of winning, but it gives, if they win again, it gives them that insurance policy. Once again, if you have the Saints lose, you have more comfort bumper zone. If you're taking your driver's test, folks, you want that bumper. You want that nice, easy bumper zone between the cars. That's what we want. We don't want like this. We don't want that, folks. We want like that. More and more spread out here, folks. So we would want the Saints to lose here, folks. So because of that. This game, So really, this game doesn't matter much for the Packers postseason wise, but this does help us with the draft capital. So if all doom goes to worse, the Packers don't make the playoffs, we want the Jets to lose so we get a high second round pick. Because if the Packers had their first round pick this year, it'd be a top, close to a top 5 pick. So it didn't happen because of Rodgers not playing, obviously, but we have their second round pick, which I think is more favorable for us because we really do well in second rounds, usually given our history. So I think that would be helpful. So if you have the Jets to lose here, it not only helps the Packers get higher up in the draft, it just creates more of a draft capital. So you could either trade it, you could trade up, trade down, just get more value out of that pick. So just helps if the Jets lose more and lose out. It just helps us out more. All right, next game. This game would help us more here, rooting guy wise, because in my opinion, these are the only 3 teams I'm really worried about here, in my opinion. Because last week, it was the Vikings and the Seahawks in those final 2 wildcard spots. No one's going to get the number 1 wildcard spot because it's going to be the loser. It's going to be the second loser of the NFC East of the second place, who it's either the Eagles or Cowboys, which we'll find out soon, which I'll talk about that in a little bit, though. So you need the Rams to lose here. We already beat the Rams, so that's good for us. Seahawks, we have because of the common games, I think we have a better NFC record. If someone wants to correct me on that, they can. So I think that's the case there. And so we have that. We pretty much need the Seahawks to lose 4 more games. But because of what I mentioned earlier a couple weeks ago, they pretty much need to lose 2 more games. They already lost to the 49ers 2 weeks ago, lost to the Cowboys last Thursday, lose to the 49ers. It helps us out more. So you need the Seahawks to lose, and they are losing their mojo, losing their momentum. They're losing it all right now because of these games, that this is a tough stretch for them. And I said on my radio show a couple weeks ago that my bold prediction was the Seahawks lose these 4 upcoming games, and I've been right of these games so far. So if they lose the 49ers, it helps the Packers out a lot because, again, creates the buffer zone. We want insurance policy. Give me more insurance is what I would say. Give me the best insurance policy you have out there. That's what I'm looking for. Ravens, again, it's the same. It's the same thing. We want the Ravens to win. Same thing with the Rams. This game, well, I want the Raiders to win. I just don't know what I'm going to see out of the Vikings. I just don't know because, again, Justin Jefferson back this week from the IR. Yet I just don't know what the Vikings are going to show. Are we going to see what happened on Monday Night Football against the Bears Vikings, or are we going to see the Josh Dobbs good stuff when he was playing well? I don't know. I just don't know with this Vikings team right now. Like, they're off and on. So I worry about them a bit, even though we're division rival and we play them later. So I prefer that the Vikings lose here. Also, the Raiders have been good recently too, folks. They've been a good fight ever since they fired Josh McDaniels. So that's your rooting guide there. As I mentioned before, we need this win. You can't stall out. You really need this win. You kind of need to run the table here. You can't afford this, and this would kind of hurt us a bit here, I would say. Given all the tiebreakers wise, this would hurt us a little bit because it's NFC opponent wise, is what I'll say. All right, Eagles Cowboys. So this game doesn't matter much as a Packers fan, really. The only way it really matters, in my particular eyes, is let's say the Packers make it in. And most likely, I mean, if you have the Vikings stay the same and the Packers stay the same pretty much, and the Vikings finish ahead of the Packers, you'd be facing most likely one of these teams. You'd be facing either the Eagles or Cowboys. And if you're a Packers fan, who would you want to face, really, the Eagles or the Cowboys? Now, let me remind you, folks, for the Cowboys side, they haven't been a winning record team. I mean, if you want to count the Seahawks like as a winning record, you can, or 500 record. But like Cowboys, they really haven't been like a great opponent. But when they're facing a bad team, they dominate them. Eagles, they're coming off that Super Bowl loss. And they've been lucky. I will say that. They've been lucky, and they've been balling out, and they've been having a great season. I will say that. Concerning me from the Eagles side is their defense. I mean, not concerned. Concern from watching the Eagles, their defense has not been doing that great. Offense is fantastic. I will say that. The defense is inconsistent. The secondary has been terrible for them. So pick your poison here. Who do you want to face? I mean, it would be nice to play the Cowboys again, but Eagles, I'm more scared of them, in my opinion, if I'm a Packer fan. But then again, you guys can choose however you want to see it. I mean, the Eagles have been off and on, but the Cowboys, they always mess up the postseason every year. So kind of lead towards like Cowboys. Like I'd rather face them a bit. So I'll pick the Eagles here for now. But then again, let me remind you folks, is it just kind of like that's like kind of future question there. But for this, the Eagles do play the Seahawks this next week when we're going to it here in a second. So if Eagles win here, it kind of builds momentum here once again. If like Eagles get back up, they're feeling better, and then they can collapse. Then they not going to collapse, destroy the Seahawks. You need the Seahawks to lose these next two games here. So because that's really who they face with like their tough opponents. So hope the Packers out a lot here. And yeah. So I would prefer the Eagles to kind of win. I also don't want to face them that much, so kind of prefer that. So we head into Week 15 here, which I will be at this Packers game, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be at this game. So if you're going to it, go say hi to me, and I'll be around the stadium, folks. I'll be at the game. So come see me at the game, folks. I'll be there. If you want to see me, just text me. All right, so or leave in the comments. Once again, I don't think I need to care about this, so Eeny, Money, Mo, I'll pick because of you, Devontae Adams. Why not? This game, don't care. I'll get that into a second, even though I'm just – that is just bad game. Let's see, what else do we have? It's a good game, but I'll pick the Ravens there because I don't know about Trevor Lawrence. This game is terrible. I don't know why it's Monday night. All right. Now we get into our games. So once again, if you're the Packer fan out there, like somebody like Packers Digital, I know he was talking to where I was talking to this week of wanting to win the division. Here's a shot here, the Broncos. You still have a shot here, but I don't see it happening here. I just don't see it happening. If the Packers pull it off, I just don't see it there of winning the division. I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong though. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. But I'll give you this one. I'll give you this one, Packers Digital. Until we see the Vikings here, which will be in a second. Until we'll see that next week, wise this particular thing. All right. You need a Browns win here. It just, I mean, technically, it really doesn't matter that much, wise, but it preferably, if you want to consider the Bears playoff hopes, but somehow there's a shot, even though it's really not going to happen. If you want the best insurance policy, since the Packers play the Bears the last week, and given our Packers history against the Bears, we usually do well against them. But if you want to play the worst case scenario, if the Packers lose, you want the best insurance policy. So Browns win would kill the Bears' playoff hopes right away, folks. So see you there. All right. And then Vikings, Bengals, you need the Bengals to win. As I mentioned before, you need the Vikings to lose, because if the Vikings lose, if two of the three teams, like pretty much if like all three teams not do well, like as I mentioned, the Vikings or Rams and the Seahawks, Packers could get the 6th seed and not have the 7th seed. So that would kind of play a good favor, because you're not playing the NFC East, and you could face the Lions the first round, Packers. So that could be more beneficial. This still need the Falcons. I mean, as I mentioned before about the draft capital, I think that more the Falcons win the division is more important, because you see the Giants play the Saints. So yeah, I mean, I prefer the Giants. I need the Giants to win more, so it help us out. But a Saints win kind of makes it close in division-wise, and I mentioned with the Falcons before, so need the Falcons to keep winning. Packers, well, I'm not counting this yet here, folks. Of like the 95, 70%, that's still not happening there. Need a Commanders win. As I mentioned before, you need that to happen. Eagles, well, hopefully you do not mess up. You do your job there. Cowboys, Bills, so as I mentioned, this. Oh, I forgot here. Well, I'll do this game first, and then we'll go back to this real quick. As I mentioned before, we need the Jets to win, really. Oh, no, excuse me, not Jets win. Jets to lose, so we get a good draft pick, guys. Get a good draft pick. So we need that. Yeah, you need that, as I mentioned before. Now, back to this game real quick. I just think that was going to happen right there. Back to this game. So let's say the Rams somehow pull off some of these wins and upsets. Like if they upset the Ravens this week and they beat them, then you're like, oh, shoot, as a Packer fan. And it's like, well, there's only one tough opponent, and the Rams could still get ahead of the Packers here and make it in before us. Well, with this, you want the Cowboys to win here, folks, because you want the competition for the number one seed to play out as long as it can. You don't want to see teams on resting their guys the final week of the game. You don't want to see. You want to see them all play for it. And with this, the Cowboys win, puts the fight up against the Niners here, which I think this is going to be most realistic here. Puts up the fight against the Eagles here too. You keep making a tough stretch here, and the Lions also are going to try and fight for the number one seed, which I don't think that's going to happen, but you keep the fight going here. You need to keep the fire light up and keep it going until the last week when the Niners are playing the Rams here, and you need the Niners to beat the Rams. That happens, it helps the Packers out a lot. It just does. So with this, I just think it's happening here. You need a Cowboy win here, folks. And then back to this game, which I will be at. Packers win 97. 78 if you lose. Preferably, you need it. And this is against Baker Mayfield, which Baker Mayfield is 0-2 against the Packers in Lambeau Field, ladies and gentlemen. Just to let you know. All right, week 16, week 17, and week 18 left, and then we'll move on to our next segment here, folks. So, as I mentioned before, this game does not matter to me. This game does not matter. I'll put it for the Bills. Shout out to you, Bill fans, if you're watching this. We'll get to that in a second. This game is tough. I'll go Texans here. That technically plays a factor. This game doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter. Okay, I'm being realistic for that one. Honestly, come on, guys. Honestly, I'll be realistic, but I prefer the Titans to win this. So this is just for the Ruin Guide wise, guys. This is for the Ruin Guide. But I will play a bit of realistic for like one or two teams, honestly, if it's a blowout, if I'm going to see a honest good win here. Again, you need the Commanders to win here, folks. Helps moves the Jets up. If you want to get to the highest draft pick you can get the first overall pick in the second round, folks. It would help the Packers out a bit here. Help the Packers out a bit here. All right. Now again, back to Packers Digital, which he wants this to happen with Chaos Boys. Oh, forgot. Falcons let the Falcons keep winning here. Let the Falcons keep winning the division. All right, so Packers Digital, for him, he wants the Packers to win the division. Well, it preferably helps the Packers make the postseason-wise if the Vikings lose. If the Vikings somehow won, let's just say that, moves the Packers' percentage of winning the division to 33%. Somehow, there's a way, ladies and gentlemen. There's a way somehow. And I just don't, again, see it out of it. I could see a split here between this Lions and Vikings 2 games upcoming here. I just don't see it here, folks. I just don't see it, Packers Digital, if the Packers win the division. I just don't see it. This game, real quick. Because the Saints are far down, you need the Rams to lose once again, in my opinion. Because, as I mentioned before, with the Saints losing these games here, lose to the Giants, which I don't think is going to happen, lose to the Panthers, which, again, I don't think is going to happen. You have them lose those 2 games. The Packers have a 3-game stretch because of that tiebreaker. They beat them early in the season. So they have a 3-game stretch. So basically, they're out of the postseason. So you need the Saints to win against the Rams that week. So it prefers the Packer fan. Jags, you prefer it because the Bucs are just completely out of the playoff picture there. And if you lost the Bucs, it helps the Packers out right then and there. This game, I don't know why this is really a factor. I just don't see that. One hand, you get the Bears to mess up their draft pick. The other hand, you've ruined their hopes of playoffs. Because of this is the playoff hope, we hope them not to make the playoffs, even though I don't think it's happening with them. Okay. This game, I prefer, again, need to keep this interesting here, folks. So it would make it interesting. I don't know. I mean, it's the same here, but like, if you get the Cowboys to kind of like have the same record as the Eagles a bit here, that's all that matters. So we'll see what happens there when time comes. Like, again, like this game too, this could go either way. Like, preferably, you kind of want the Niners to win here if you're the Packers, if you don't want to face the 49ers the first round. So, yeah, that's what I would say for that one. All right, week 17 now we move on. 2 weeks away, and we're about done here, folks, with this playoff simulation. And then we'll go on to our next segment real quick. What did I just put? I already put. No, I'm taking that out. Okay. Again, Browns win. Get the highest draft pick you can, Jets. Highest draft pick we want. It's doable, Packers Digital. It is doable right there. I'll give you that. This game. Again, need the Falcons to win. That game's settled. That game's also settled. I'll be realistic for this one shot, even though I don't think it's going to happen. That's realistic. This game, I don't think it doesn't matter that much already. I would say the Bucks, just why not? But I just don't think that game. It could go either way. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I'm being realistic because that's just why not. That's also realistic. This game doesn't matter. So I'll leave these two games out of it. This game out of it, and this game out of these. It only comes down to these two games left here, folks, for this week. Excuse me. So with this, if you're, let's just say the Seahawks somehow pull the upset against the Niners. You pull off the upset against the Eagles. Now you want the Steelers to win. Again, you want the best insurance policy. You need that good bumper zone, ladies and gentlemen. You need that good bumper zone. So with this, you need the Steelers to win. Hopefully you have Kenny Pickett back. You're hoping that he's back. And right off the bat, Packers could clinch right off the bat if they lose. If they win. Hold up. So, yeah, if the Seahawks lose and the Packers win, that would clinch the Packers a spot right off the bat, which I think that I did read a report. I read something today that the Packers technically clinch a spot, I think, against the Panthers, or it was the Week 17 game against the Vikings. I don't know which one it was, but somehow there's a realistic chance that Packers could technically, but all would have to factor in. And I don't think that's going to happen. But this game is very important, guys. Very important right here. Because not only does this determine if you make the playoffs, this determines where you would get decided in the wildcard spot. So if the Packers have this over the Vikings, you get the higher spot and you wouldn't be the last wildcard spot, and you have to face against the 49ers, Eagles, Cowboys probably. You most likely have to play the Lions, and the Lions don't want to play the Packers. We just saw on Thanksgiving Day. Lions were not happy about that. And again, for Packers Digital, he wants the Packers division-wise, and I just don't think it's going to happen again. They beat the Vikings. It continues, ladies and gentlemen. It still continues here of Packers still have a shot. They still have a shot, ladies and gentlemen, because if you see the Packers win here, you have a 69% chance of winning the division here, folks, and hosting the wild card. There's somehow a shot. All right, now we move on to the final week here. Right away, I'm getting rid of some games that don't matter to me. And also being realistic for this one, too. Doesn't matter. Realistic. Let's see. No, I'll go Bills. Realistic. That's a terrible game. I'll go Browns for that. Okay. All right, so these three, I mean, we've already clinched this. We've already clinched the playoffs. But for this, you need the Packers to win. And this is counting all the Packers to win out, ladies and gentlemen. This is counting it out. Excuse me. Want the Panthers to win because it messes up the draft pick for the Bears. Want the 49ers to win because it doesn't get the Rams in. You want the Cardinals to win. Again, best insurance policy I mentioned before. Patriots, well, I need you to win so the Jets get the highest draft pick. Falcons, again, win the division. Okay, so Vikings beat the Lions. Okay, so for the Packer fans that want to win the division, you're hosting the wild card. This is just the rooting guide and how you want it all happen. But let's say the Packers lose a game here. Let's say they lose to the Vikings. Okay, there's a decent shot that you could still win the division here. And let's say that the Vikings split with the Lions. If I find that, let's say the Lions win that. Right away there, folks. That's what happens. That's what happens right there. Less than a 1% chance right there, guys. So you pretty much need the Lions to lose out. If you're a Packers fan, you want to win the division. Which, again, I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't see it. Prove me wrong. When it happens, you can clip this right now for me to be wrong. I hope I am wrong. So I just don't see it happening, guys. I just don't see it happening out there. I just don't. But that is the playoff rooting guide for here, folks, for the Packers if they win out. Now, they could lose a game here. It's fine if they lose to the Vikings of wise of like I mean, that's the worst one in my opinion if they lose to. They still have I forgot to put this in too. Well, if I even the Panthers somehow beat the Packers still, again, still have a good shot making it. Theoretically, the Packers could afford 2 losses here. And given the schedule where we're at with this Packers team, given where we're at, they have a very winnable schedule, guys. Very winnable schedule when you look at it. And you got, again, the Giants this week on Monday Night Football. You got the Bucks next week, which I'll be at. You got the Panthers. You got the Vikings and the Bears. So all of these games are winnable. The worst they could do really is lose 3 games here and only win 2. So you cannot take these opponents too light. You got to take them seriously, even if they're terrible. As I mentioned before, you got to still take care of business and get the job done. So with this, it just helps the Packers out of you beat here, you move on. Take it 1 game at a time, guys. You take it 1 game at a time, you get the job done here. So let's not focus on the Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Bears quite so yet. We're not focused on that. Right now, if you're a Packers fan, we are just focused on beating the Giants Monday Night Football. That's all we're caring now, guys. That's all we're caring. Because if we get ahead of ourselves, like last year when we thought we were going to make the postseason, didn't happen because we lost the Lions. Got to take it 1 game at a time. If you don't take care of business, you go home. That's the famous saying of the Packers. You don't take care of business, you go home. If you take care of business right there for the Giants, boom, that gives you 1 win, moves you a step closer to the postseason. Just take it 1 at a time. Like Jordan Love said, can't take these opponents lightly. That's the key thing here, folks. Key thing here. So, yeah, that's the key thing I like to say here too. Yeah, so moving on to our next segment, which I just covered the playoffs wise. And if you want to go do this yourself and do the playoff simulation stuff, go to NY Times playoff prediction simulation. It should be free to get it for you if you just do it on Google. It works for me when I just do it for myself, so it should probably work for you. If you want to put it in any team, if you want to put your own favorite team, if you're not a Packers fan out there, just do your own. There's also an ESPN playoff machine that also tells you, if they win, it shows you who gets in the playoff picture instead of percentage-wise, which I like a little bit more. But if you're more an analytical, statistical guy, use NY Times, folks. Use NY Times. So, yeah. So that's what I got there. And moving on to our next segment, which is looking back at this Aaron Rodgers trade a little bit here, folks. So, as I already mentioned before, I want the Jets to lose out pretty much. I want them to lose out here. And because of that, we get a good draft pick here. Because if we want, here's the recap here of this Packers trade. Packers traded Rodgers to the Jets. And what we received was we got a first-round pick from this past draft. Get a second-round pick from this past draft. Get a sixth-round pick in this past draft. You get a second-round pick, but it would become a first-round pick if Rodgers played out the amount of if he played 75% of the snaps, which did not happen. So we got the second round since Rodgers not coming out. And because of that, we need the Packers. We need the Jets to lose that because if they get a high draft pick, as I mentioned before, we get a great value pick and get something out of that. So this is something that's amazed me so far of this complete Packers trade. We have our first round pick, the 13th. We got Lucas Van Ness, which is looking all right. Second round pick, we got Jane Reed, who's looked fantastic so far. Sixth round pick, I have to look back on that once again, folks. But Packers have looked good with this trade here. Rodgers has not played, and not even including the trade, Rodgers took all his friends to the Jets. He took all of them. Alan Lazard, as I mentioned before, Randall Cobb, Adrian Amos, Billy Turner. And if you look at their playing here, they have not played that much. They have not played that much. And it's really looking bad on the Jets, especially if you look at Pat McAfee's comment like a couple months ago when they kept negotiating about this trade and all this. And Pat McAfee called Joe Douglas a genius. Well, he doesn't look like a genius right now, folks, if he did all this just for Rodgers and everything. I mean, despite the injury, but come on. Just hasn't worked out. And Brian Gutekunst, I like to give props to here. I like to give props to him because he could win the executive of the year, executive man of the year for like best GM, because not only did he pull off this trade, you look at this Packers team now. It is the youngest team in the NFL right now, folks. Youngest team. And with this, you have pretty much you have the majority of your offensive squad there, folks. When you look at it, you got Christian Watson. Not Christian Watson. You got Jane Reed out of this deal. Just look at this offseason. You got Jane Reed, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave. You got, Luke Musgrave, Jane Reed. So 3 guys right away off the bat right there. You got there. Then onto the defensive side, you got Carl Brooks. It was another guy who stuck out to me. You got Carrington Ballantyne. So Ballantyne. You got Anthony Johnson Jr., Jonathan Owens, Lucas Van Ness, as I mentioned before. He's pretty much this, and Anders Carlson. Let me not forget that for special teams. They've been banking on this entire draft class from this past year. Is majority of the starters here. They are playing and being very good here. They're playing very valuable to this team. And it's just working so well for this team right now. It just has. And look, it did not, like for this Packers team, we were not doing great for a bit. We were doing a terrible streak. We had a terrible losing streak for a bit. And then since that Chargers game, all of them have stood up and have strong through it. They've fought through it. And that's something that stood out to me there, folks. Like, Brian has done a good job, and I'll give him props for this. I'll give him props for that, folks. He's done a better job. Matt LaFleur, he's letting the train wheels get off of Jordan Love right now. So great to see that. It's just great to see that out of Jordan Love, folks. Great to see that. And yes, Mason Crosby is with the Rams now, who signed with the practice squad today, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be weird to see Mason Crosby in a Rams uniform, even though he signed a practice squad, which they said that he's most likely going to be kicking field goals. So Crosby, can you do us a favor and just miss field goals for the Packers? We would like to see that, folks. We would like to see that. So, yeah, like to see that there. And, yeah, Packers, look, they have a decent shot at making the postseason right now. You got an easy schedule. You got all that. But the question is, can they take care of business and not take their team lightly? Because we saw what happened in London. We took them too lightly, and that killed us, especially against Saquon Barkley. So just focus on this game, and you got this, guys. Just keep focusing on there. And they got it. Like, pretty much they have a decent shot right now. This team's looked more confident, has the momentum. They got the hot hand right now. You just got to see it out of them. Got to keep seeing it out of them. So hopefully this Packers team can pull off a win. We would love to see that here, folks. Pull off the win, get the dub, move on to the next week, which is the Bucs, and I'll be at. So hopefully they win that game too, which I'll be at. So, yeah. Need to hope this Packers win right now, guys. Just need to hope for it, and they'll get the job done. But that will do it here of Pack Reacts, ladies and gentlemen, as I held down the fort here tonight of Pack Reacts. And appreciate everyone that's commented so far, and hopefully have leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. About close to 300 subs, which has been a goal of mine for a bit. So hopefully we get to accomplish that goal a bit. So yes. Hopefully everyone's done that. And one thing I like to say here too before I head out is that for upcoming video, I will be making Aaron Rodgers tribute video of his career with the Green Bay Packers coming out this winter in January. I will have that come out and post out a bit here. And if the Packers make the playoffs, I will make a Packer hype trailer video of the postseason. I will make that for you guys. It did well the last time I made it, so I will try and make that for you guys. So I will have that for everyone. And where you can find me, well, you can find me right here on this YouTube channel, folks. You can find me here on this YouTube channel right here and do it. of subscribing here for the show. Subscribe here, folks. But once again, Packers get the upset against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Packers are on a 3-game winning streak, which we love to see. Can they extend to 4 games? Hopefully. Mike and John, as I mentioned before, will be there. So text the PackReacts Twitter to get out, to reach out to them, and they will be there. So once again, go Pack, go, baby. And we play the song now. Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go.